Deaths of actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy after the couple's bodies were found at their home in Santa Fe County.
2025 has barely begun, yet the wave of tragic news seems relentless. Reports of the sudden deaths of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, have left fans in shock. As the world mourns, speculation continues to grow about what really happened. Whispers of mystery and unanswered questions fuel public curiosity, especially as authorities reportedly proceed with an autopsy to determine the cause of death. But in an unexpected twist, reports suggest that Hackman's daughter is seeking to keep the results private. Is this simply the act of a grieving family member, or could there be more to the story? A life well lived. Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman was known for his versatility on screen in movies such as The French Connection, Mississippi Burning, and Hoosiers. Eugene "Gene" Hackman was born on January 30, 1930, in San Bernardino, California. His middle name was Alden, though some sources say Allen. As a child, he moved to Illinois with his parents, where his father worked as a newspaper press operator. His dad abandoned the family when Hackman was in his early teens. When he was 16 years old, Hackman dropped out of high school to join the U.S. Marine Corps. He lied about his age in order to enlist. During his time in the service, Hackman worked as a radio operator and finished his high school education. After being discharged in 1951, Hackman tried to find his way, living in Illinois and New York while working a variety of jobs. He studied journalism and TV production for a time as well. Hackman eventually decided on acting and studied at California's Pasadena Playhouse Theater in the 1950s. Dustin Hoffman was one of his fellow students, and the two became friends and shared the dubious distinction of being voted least likely to succeed by their peers. The Big Break. Returning to New York, Hackman landed his first off-Broadway role in Chaparral in 1958. He became friends with actor Robert Duvall and, for a time, roomed with his former acting classmate Dustin Hoffman. After struggling for several years, Hackman landed his first movie role as a cop in 1961's Mad Dog Call. He made his Broadway debut 2 years later in Children from Their Games, which was quickly followed by a role in A Rainy Day in Newark. Hackman was also part of the original cast of Any Wednesday, which debuted in 1964. After seeing him on Broadway, director Robert Rawson cast Hackman in the drama Lilith, 1964, with Warren Beatty. Beatty proved instrumental in Hackman's big career breakthrough. He helped Hackman land a supporting role in Bonnie and Clyde, 1967, which starred Beatty and Faye Dunaway as the infamous criminal couple. Hackman played Clyde's brother, Buck Burrow, who joins his sibling and his lady on their bank robbery spree. The role brought Hackman plenty of critical attention and his first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. 3 years later, Hackman garnered another Best Supporting Actor nod from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for his work on I Never Sang for My Father, 1970. In the film, he played a professor trying to forge a relationship with his estranged father, played by Melvin Douglas, after his mother's death.
Kind of what happens to people who steep their lives in...
Next up was the flick that solidified his status as a bona fide screen star, The French Connection, 1971. Hackman played Detective Popeye Doyle in this hit thriller directed by William Friedkin and went on to win the Academy Award for Best Actor. After the success of The French Connection, Hackman took on a variety of films. He joined such classic stars as Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Roddy McDowall, and Shelley Winters, or you're known for the Disaster at Sea saga, The Poseidon Adventure, 1972. The next year, he teamed up with Al Pacino for the drama Scarecrow, 1973. Hackman went on to star in Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation, 1974, in which he played a surveillance expert who gets caught up in one of his projects. His portrayal of the measured and precise professional loner Harry Call remains another one of his highly praised performances. The Oscar winner scored a success with his portrayal of supervillain Lex Luthor in 1978's Superman, which starred Christopher Reeve as the legendary Man of Steel. Hackman reprised his role in two sequels, Superman II, 1980, and Superman IV, The Quest for Peace, 1987. Reuniting with Warren Beatty, Hackman had a small role in Reds, 1981, which was based on the true story of a politically radical journalist named John Reed. He followed that effort by playing a retired colonel who goes to Vietnam to find his son in Uncommon Valor, 1983. He earned praise for his performance, but the film itself received lackluster reviews. Hackman continued to explore different genres and types of characters for the remainder of the decade. With Hoosiers, 1986, he tackled the role of a new coach who leads a small-town basketball team to victory. He then played a sinister Secretary of Defense in No Way Out, 1987, also with Kevin Costner. Hackman delivered another strong turn in Mississippi Burning, 1988. In this historical, dramatic thriller based on a true story, he played an FBI agent investigating the murder of 3 civil rights workers in 1964, a performance that earned him a Best Actor Oscar nomination. Not long afterward, Hackman experienced chest pains and underwent an angioplasty. He considered retirement for a while, but eventually returned to his craft. Working with fellow acclaimed actor Clint Eastwood, Hackman netted an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Unforgiven, 1992. In this Western, he played a cruel sheriff pursued by Eastwood, who also won an Oscar for Best Director. Taking on a different kind of morally questionable character, Hackman played Tom Cruise's mentor in The Firm, 1993, a film adaptation of a John Grisham novel. In 1995, Hackman played seasoned combat submarine captain Frank Ramsey, opposite Denzel Washington's Lieutenant Commander Ron Hunter, in the thrilling drama Crimson Tide. That same year, he starred as John Herod, a vicious mayor of a wild frontier town, opposite Sharon Stone, Russell Crowe, and the then up-and-coming actor Leonardo DiCaprio in the western The Quick and the Dead. In 1996, he starred in another Grisham adaptation, The Chamber, as a convicted murderer and racist facing execution. The film struck out with critics and moviegoers alike, but Hackman had better luck that year as a conservative senator in the comedy The Birdcage with Robin Williams. Stepping back from the spotlight, the 2000s began with Hackman appearing as Coach Jimmy McGinty in the football comedy The Replacements, opposite Keanu Reeves and Jack Warden. That same year also found him starring alongside Morgan Freeman in the crime thriller Under Suspicion. In 2001, Hackman headlined the ensemble cast of Wes Anderson's offbeat family comedy The Royal Tenenbaums. Angelica Houston co-starred as his estranged wife, and Ben Stiller, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Luke Wilson played their adult children. That year, Hackman also starred in Heartbreakers as a wealthy widower targeted by a gold-digging mother and daughter, played by Sigourney Weaver, and Jennifer Love Hewitt. In 2003, Hackman got a chance to work with old friend Dustin Hoffman in Runaway Jury, which also starred John Cusack. He played a jury consultant working for a gun manufacturer in a suit that Hoffman's client had brought against the company. Hackman's final movie was the light-hearted comedy Welcome to Mooseport, 2004, in which he starred as a former president who campaigns against a local, Ray Romano, to become mayor of a small town. While promoting the film, Hackman appeared on The Larry King Show and said that he didn't have another movie lined up, adding that his film career was probably all over. He cited the stress of acting and health issues related to his heart as reasons for stepping away. Although retired from film acting, Hackman began a thriving second career as a novelist. He co-wrote 4 books with Daniel Lenihan: Wake of the Perdido Star, 1999, Justice for None, 2004, Vermilion, 2004, and Escape from Andersonville, 2008. He went on to deliver 2 solo efforts, Payback at Morning Peak, 2011, and Pursuit, 2013. Hackman's wife and children. Hackman was married to classical pianist Betsy Arakawa for nearly 35 years. The couple met while Arakawa was working part-time at a gym in California and married in 1991. Though they did not have children together, they shared a love for German Shepherds. Prior to this, Hackman was married to Faye Maltese from 1956 to 1986, with whom he had 3 children: Christopher, Elizabeth, and Leslie. Hackman often reflected on the challenges of fatherhood, especially regarding his son, Christopher. In a 1984 interview, he emphasized the importance of maintaining physical affection, stating that he and his son still hugged and that he couldn't imagine replacing that with a handshake. He believed it was crucial to be sensitive to a child's need for a father's embrace. However, by 2011, Hackman admitted that he had lost touch with his son in terms of giving advice, attributing it to his frequent absences due to filming on location when his son needed support and guidance. He acknowledged the difficulty of being away for months and then returning home to assert authority. Despite these challenges, Hackman expressed gratitude for the close bond he maintained with his children, cherishing the ability to share affectionate moments with them throughout their lives. In a January 2020 interview with Empire magazine, Gene Hackman reflected on his journey to becoming a novelist, revealing that his son Christopher once aspired to be an actor. Hackman shared that during that period, he wrote several monologues for Christopher, which he found enjoyable, and considered the beginning of his writing endeavors. Hackman's second child, Elizabeth Gene Hackman, was born in August 1962. While Hackman rarely discussed his family in interviews, he recounted a challenging period in his career during the 1970s and 1980s. He mentioned having to borrow his daughter's car to attend interviews in Hollywood, describing it as a modest vehicle that he would park a few blocks away to avoid being seen as needy. As children, Elizabeth and her younger sister, Leslie, were often photographed sitting on their father's lap while he wore a Los Angeles Dodgers jersey at a celebrity baseball game. Elizabeth also attended several events with Hackman, including the December 1978 screening of Superman at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., and the October 1996 premiere of The Chamber in Beverly Hills, California, alongside her sister and stepmother, Betsy Arakawa, People.com. Following Hackman's death, Elizabeth expressed the family's suspicion that toxic fumes, such as carbon monoxide, may have been the cause. Hackman and his first wife, Faye Maltese, welcomed their third child, Leslie Ann Hackman, in October 1966. While Leslie has largely maintained a private life, she occasionally accompanied her father to public events. Notably, she attended the 41st Annual Golden Globe Awards in January 1984, the December 1990 premiere of The Godfather Part 3, and the March 1991 premiere of Class Action. In a 1984 interview, Hackman discussed his film Misunderstood, highlighting its themes of father-child relationships. He mentioned that his youngest daughter had seen the film and was deeply affected by it, appreciating it as a cinematic work and recommending it to her friends. Following Hackman's death in February 2025, Leslie expressed that she hadn't spoken to her father in the months leading up to his passing, but noted that he had been in good physical health. She mentioned that he regularly practiced Pilates and yoga and had not undergone any major surgeries recently. Leslie also expressed gratitude towards her stepmother, Betsy Arakawa, for taking good care of her father. However, the circumstances surrounding their deaths soon raised more questions than answers. What really happened on February 26th? When Gene Hackman was found dead in his New Mexico home on February the 26th, alongside his wife Betsy Arakawa and one of their 3 dogs, it should have been a straightforward tragedy. The quiet passing of a Hollywood legend at 95. However, as investigators pieced together the events leading up to his death, the story took a chilling and deeply unsettling turn. Arakawa was last seen alive on February 11th. captured on surveillance footage running errands at Sprouts Farmers Market and CVS. Wearing a mask, she may have already been feeling unwell. She returned home that evening and then nothing. When officials finally examined her, they determined she had died that very night from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, a rare and deadly illness typically contracted from rodents. But the truly haunting part? Hackman had been living in the house with her body for days, possibly weeks, unaware of the horror unfolding around him. At 95, Hackman's Alzheimer's had already begun to take its toll. Despite his condition, medical reports show that when he was found, he wasn't dehydrated, meaning he had been eating, drinking, and moving around the house. But with his wife's body just feet away, how much did he really understand? Investigators now believe he likely died around February 17th, meaning he spent nearly a week alone, trapped in a surreal and tragic reality. Even more bizarre, one of their 3 dogs also died inside the home under circumstances that remain unexplained. By the time a maintenance worker discovered the scene, the house had become a tomb. Arakawa's body was found near a portable heater, surrounded by prescription pill bottles. Hackman's cane and sunglasses were beside him, as if he had just been walking moments before his death. There was no sign of forced entry, no carbon monoxide poisoning, no immediate clues pointing to foul play. Yet, something about it didn't sit right. When authorities seized personal items, including cell phones, medication, and Hackman's 2025 planner, his family acted fast, blocking the release of autopsy results and securing a restraining order to prevent any images or details from becoming public. The official story suggests a tragic but natural end for the couple. But with so many unsettling details, Arakawa's sudden and rare illness, Hackman's lonely and confused final days, the unexplained death of one of their dogs, and the swift move to keep certain information under wraps, there's a growing sense that the full truth has yet to surface. Some aspects of Gene Hackman's final days remain unclear. Betsy Arakawa's final days. Just as authorities began piecing together the eerie final days of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, a chilling twist shattered their initial timeline. The official story, that Arakawa died on February 11th and Hackman unknowingly lived with her body for days, was suddenly thrown into doubt when cell phone records revealed she may have been alive the next morning. ABC News first broke the revelation. Betsy Arakawa placed 3 calls to Cloudberry, a private medical concierge service, on February 12th. She even missed a return call that afternoon. The implications were staggering. If Arakawa was still conscious and reaching out for medical help, then when did she actually die? More importantly, why was her time of death estimated so much earlier? This information raises questions about the New Mexico office of the medical investigator's initial timeline, which had publicly stated that Arakawa died on February 11th, nearly a full week before Hackman's own passing on February 18th. The office now admits they had not reviewed cell phone records when making that determination. Meanwhile, the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office clarified that while they had previously relied on her last known activity from February 11th, they are now reassessing the timeline. The uncertainty deepens an already unsettling case. If Arakawa was still alive on the morning of February 12th, what happened in those lost hours? Was she actively deteriorating? Did she die alone while Hackman, trapped in his own fog of Alzheimer's, was incapable of calling for help? And why did one of their dogs also perish inside the home, while the others survived? With the family blocking the release of autopsy reports, questions about Hackman and Arakawa's final days refuse to go away. As speculation grows, the lack of transparency has only caused more intrigue. The lack of transparency has led to ongoing speculation. Now, with newly uncovered details about eerie encounters in the months leading up to their deaths, the mystery takes an even more disturbing turn. More shocking twists? The mystery surrounding Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths has only deepened, with newly released details about two chilling encounters they had with a strange man just months before they died. In newly uncovered body cam footage obtained by Fox News Digital, Betsy's hairstylist, Christopher, told law enforcement that she had expressed serious concerns about being followed on two separate occasions. She described a mysterious man waiting outside their gated community, trailing them to White Rock, and then confronting them with a folder of photographs of Gene Hackman, demanding he sign them. Christopher recalled Betsy telling him she was surprised security hadn't stopped the man, adding that she directly approached him and warned him to show more respect, but the unsettling encounters didn't stop there. Weeks later, the same man followed them again, this time offering them a bottle of wine, an offer they declined. Christopher had urged her to take the situation more seriously, telling police, "That's so weird, because Santa Fe isn't a place for paparazzi. He knew what they drove. That's the scary part." But was this just the act of an overly aggressive fan or something more sinister? The timing of this revelation is even more alarming, given the legal battle now unfolding behind the scenes. Just some time ago, the Hackman estate secured a court order preventing the release of any images, videos, or autopsy reports tied to their deaths. Why? Their attorney, Kurt Sommer, argued that their right to privacy outweighed public interest, referencing the court decision to block the release of Kurt Cobain's death scene photos. The estate's legal team is now fighting to keep all footage, lapel camera videos, interior home photos, and even images of their deceased dog out of the public eye. With toxicology reports, cell phone records, and now this eerie stalker connection still under investigation, the case is far from closed. Was this a tragic but natural passing of an aging Hollywood icon and his wife? Or is there something much darker lurking beneath the surface? The autopsy reports. The mystery surrounding Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths has taken yet another unexpected turn, as the late actor's family moves to block the release of their autopsy results, photos, and investigation details, a move that sources say is highly unusual. Hackman's family has filed a temporary restraining order to prevent the release of any images, videos, or autopsy findings, arguing that the couple cherished their privacy and that exposing these details would be an invasion of their right to grieve. While it's not uncommon for celebrity families to block autopsy photos, legal experts say that blocking the entire autopsy report is almost unheard of, even in high-profile cases. "This is not something I have ever seen before," an insider familiar with the investigation told The Sun. New Mexico doesn't have an exemption for autopsy photos, and normally it's not a concern. But in celebrity deaths, families often try to block photos. However, blocking the actual autopsy report, that's very atypical. The move echoes similar legal battles seen in the deaths of Michael Jackson and Helena Hutchins, both of whose families fought to keep certain images from public view. But with loose ends still unraveling, from the mysterious stalker who allegedly followed the couple in the months leading up to their deaths to the revised timeline of Arakawa's last known activity, this case is only growing more suspicious. Hackman and Arakawa were found in separate rooms of their sprawling Santa Fe home, and while officials have ruled out foul play, the secrecy surrounding their final days is fueling speculation. What exactly happened inside their secluded residence? And why is Hackman's estate so determined to keep the truth hidden? With a court hearing set for later this month, the fight to keep their final moments out of the public eye is just beginning. Who gets it all? Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were known for valuing their privacy, and that discretion seems to extend beyond their deaths. The fate of Hackman's reported $80 million fortune may never become public unless his children challenge his will in court. Court documents filed in New Mexico's First Judicial District Court, obtained by Business Insider, show that a 2005 copy of Hackman's will named Arakawa as the successor trustee of his living trust. In the document, He stated that his entire estate would be placed under the Gene Hackman Living Trust, which had been amended multiple times since its original creation in 1995. New York-based trust and estate attorney Lawrence D. Mandelker, who is not involved in the case, explained that this wording effectively meant Hackman was ensuring all his assets would be managed within the trust rather than being distributed directly through his will. This approach, according to Mandelker, is commonly used to keep the details of an estate private. Jason Kohout, a Wisconsin-based attorney specializing in estate tax planning, described Hackman's will as a pour-over will, a legal arrangement frequently used by high-net-worth individuals. He noted that this method is a standard practice for those who want to prevent the public from accessing the specifics of their estate. Hackman's 3 children from his previous marriage, Christopher Hackman, Elizabeth Jean Hackman, and Leslie Ann Allen, were mentioned in the will only to confirm their relationship to him. However, the absence of any explicit inheritance for them does not necessarily mean they were excluded. Kohout pointed out that they could still be beneficiaries of the trust, but the details would remain private unless they decided to challenge the will in court. When reached for comment, Elizabeth Jean Hackman did not respond, and attempts to contact Christopher Hackman and Leslie Ann Allen were unsuccessful. Mandelker further explained that only a limited group of people, typically next of kin, have the legal right to contest a will. Whether Hackman's children will pursue legal action remains uncertain, but unless they do, the specifics of his estate will likely remain as private as the life he and Arakawa carefully maintained. Although it remains unclear what kind of relationship Gene Hackman had with his children, at the time of his death, he previously acknowledged the challenges they faced. In a 2000 interview with the Irish Independent, he admitted that being the child of a celebrity was difficult. He reflected on the fact that his career often kept him away from them during their childhood, and noted that, having grown up in California, they constantly lived under the shadow of his success. Hackman not only named his wife, Betsy Arakawa Hackman, as the successor trustee of his estate, but also appointed her as the personal representative of his affairs.
Kind of what happens to people who steep their lives in...
In the event that she was unable to fulfill that role, Hackman had designated attorney Michael G. Sutton as an alternate. However, since Sutton had passed away, Julia L. Peters, the chief counsel at the Avalon Trust investment firm, became the next in line. She is now serving as the representative for both Hackman's estate and that of his wife. While Hackman's estate may have been intended to go entirely to Arakawa Hackman, estate attorney Lawrence D. Mandelker pointed out that the presence of backup representatives in the will suggested that his trust likely also included a backup beneficiary. He explained that it is standard practice to name an alternative, as failing to do so would mean defaulting to state inheritance laws. Court documents filed by Peter's attorney identified Hackman's children as his heirs, though Wisconsin-based estate planning attorney Jason Kohout cautioned that the structure of the will did not necessarily indicate whether they would ultimately inherit anything. A significant provision in Arakawa Hackman's will could further complicate the distribution of their assets. A 2005 copy of her will, obtained by Business Insider, revealed that if she had outlived Hackman, the remainder of her estate would have been transferred to the Gene Hackman Living Trust. However, if she died first, her assets were to go to charity. An unusual clause in her will stated that anyone who died within 90 days of her passing would not be considered to have survived her. Since Hackman died just days after her, the provision legally treated him as having predeceased her. As a result, instead of passing to him or his estate, her assets would be directed into a charitable trust. Mandelker explained that despite Hackman technically outliving her, the legal interpretation of the provision meant that her estate would bypass him entirely. The exact division of assets between Hackman and his wife remains unknown, making it unclear how much of their combined wealth was affected by this provision. Arakawa Hackman's will also indicated that she had no children or direct descendants. A court filing identified her mother as her legal heir. Throughout their lives, Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa valued their privacy, and even in death, efforts are being made to uphold it. Attorney Julia L. Peters has petitioned the court to block the release of records and photos related to their passing, and for now, a judge has granted that request. But as questions continue to swirl, many wonder if the full truth will ever come to light. What do you think? Will we ever know what really happened in their Santa Fe home? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the next one on your screen. You won't want to miss it.